a pick and roll with it. Make a pick and roll with it. Betting weekly. Fast break. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown.
Welcome in to a live edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. I'm Sara Civian alongside professional handicapper and analyst Albert Nguyen. Albert, how are you doing on this loaded Thursday afternoon as NBA Summer League in Vegas kicks off in just about 30 minutes?
I chuckled a little bit when you said loaded, Sara, because it is at the end of the day Summer League. But this year's Summer League is super intriguing, right? We have great teams. We have the Thunder there who are champions. We always want to know what's in their pipeline. Obviously, the top draft picks and Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper's not playing tomorrow, but I think Edgecombe might be playing, Ace Bailey. I'm excited to watch it. We mentioned this a little bit on the show beforehand, Sara, but I had gone for 5 years in a row. This is going to be my first year missing Summer League, so it's kind of a runaway for me.
What are you going to miss the most about seeing it in person?
I think just the atmosphere and the energy around the games. A lot of people who haven't gone to Summer League or the people who have been before, they understand like it's more than just the 40-minute game. Again, for those who don't know, it's 10-minute quarters, really short. And so the games are short, but it's like who you run into in the hallway, in the restroom, getting concessions. It's always cool to see current players, ex-NBA players, staff members, even coaches and agents. So I just think the entire energy and the atmosphere around this week, especially with Cooper Flagg coming in, right? I was there during Zion's first game. I was there during Lonzo Ball's first game. Like those are really, really exciting. For those who don't know, Vegas is kind of like LA East. So anytime there's some notoriety with the Lakers team, like they travel really well to Summer League. And so I'm just going to miss just meeting random people in the hallways.
Zion's first game, that was a spectacle. So I'm glad you got to at least see that. And I am sorry that you're stuck talking to me this year, but hopefully we get you back out there next year. We'll see.
Yeah, we should go out there together.
I am in. Vegas is one of my favorite cities. The NHL draft was there last year and I got to go. It was in the Sphere, and that it's kind of the same deal with the NHL draft there. I know we're on a tangent here, but you get to kind of have that experience where you're chatting it up with people and you're kind of talking to the behind the scenes front office people, not necessarily the GMs, but you get that analysis that you can't really find anywhere else from kind of those counterpart assistant GM type people.
And I think it shows this is kind of a cliche, but no one man should have all that power. I mean, at the end of the day, a team, a franchise is like a collection of people, of men and women. And so it's really cool to see how teams from the Summer League parlay that into the regular season and parlay that into playoffs. So that's why if I were there this weekend, I would really be focusing on OKC because they've built, everybody talked about this amazing infrastructure. Boston too, your team with the Celtics, this great infrastructure of developing players, scouting players, and then integrating them into the big team. I think that's really cool.
100%. So thanks everyone for joining us today on Fast Break. Both the California Classic and Salt Lake City Summer Leagues have wrapped up. And now it's time to talk about my highlight of the offseason. I know, Albert, we get jaded about it as the years go on, but I do love it's I'm not a huge baseball person, so it's just kind of like the dead of the summer for me, and I like locking in on something, and of course we can bet on it, so that part of it makes it exciting. We will discuss everything you need to know to prepare you for tonight's slate and the next 11 days in the desert, and we will get into tonight's WNBA slate as the W inches towards All-Star break here. Before we really get into the nuts and bolts of it all, the clock is ticking, and I'm sure our locked-in listeners are well aware that the first tip-off of Summer League is upon us in less than 30 minutes. Jeremiah Fears and the Pelicans and Rob Dillingham and the Wolves are set for a point guard battle to kick us off. Since the clock is ticking again here, let's take a quick look at BetRivers odds for the game and see if there are any last-minute rapid-fire plays that jump out. We got the Wolves in their Summer League depth. They're favorites at minus 286. The total line is set at 178.5 and the spread is 6.5. Does anything stand out to you here?
Yeah, the T-Wolves as a team, like they're bringing a really good roster to Vegas. There's a couple guys there that are not only going to be great in summer league, but they're actual performers for the big team, and some of them even started. Terrence Shannon, Rob Dillingham, a couple that I wanted to name there. But as far as the betting perspective is concerned, Sarah, I do lean Minnesota just because I have a little more knowledge, a little more data on their roster versus the opponent. But at the end of the day, it's summer league. No one's really going to know how to project or, like even handicap these games because, for example, Rob Dillingham might have an amazing first quarter and he just sits out for the rest of the game and rest of the summer league, right? It just depends on what the coaches and the front office is feeling at that time. If he's already checked out all the boxes, then there's no point for him to continue to play. But as far as just looking at the roster and comparing the two head to head right now, I do like Minnesota in the game tonight, and I think their depth, like you mentioned, is gonna get them the cover, in my opinion.
Right. And you mentioned kind of the uncertainties and how the roster can change so quickly when it comes to Summer League. And for some reason, it can be super fun to bet on the Summer League because of this, the unknowns and the differences from regular NBA gameplay. But there are certain things to keep in mind, like the shorter quarters, the variance in playing minutes, and the fact that these are still exhibition games at heart. So what are some things like that you already mentioned that really you make sure to keep in mind when you're betting on the Summer League in general?
I think one of the beauties of sports betting as it's become more popular, Sarah, is the ability to not have to bet beforehand, right? Like you can wait and either bet live or bet at halftime and just bet the second half. So there are a few games, Minnesota included, where I lean them for the full game, but I'm not confident enough to actually bet it pre-flop. So if I can get a better number at halftime, so right now Minnesota at Bet Rivers is -6.5. If at halftime, they're up by 2 and the line is only -2.5, right? So I'm technically gaining 2 points of value in that respect. And so I'm going to look for opportunities like this, especially the first day of Vegas Summer League. I have 3 or 4 games that I've circled. And if I could get better numbers at halftime, I'm going to fire. And Minnesota is one of them for sure.
Yeah, that's good to know as we move forward and keep all of that in mind. And I want to get your opinion on almost every game on the slate tonight and the WNBA slate tonight as well. But I first wanted to talk about some of the most exciting and up-and-coming rosters to keep all of our eyes on as Summer League rages on, because it can be kind of hard to focus, right? Like there are 11 days, there's so many games, and you turn around and it's gone. So I know you're focused on the Mavs, as we all are, but is there anyone aside from the Mavs, that any roster in particular have your attention?
Yeah, there's a few teams that stick out. So I talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves because I think Shannon and Dillingham are going to be real contributors during the regular season. Obviously, with OKC, they won the NBA Finals. They are the champions. And so everybody's interested to see what's in their pipeline, what's next for them, because, they basically just signed Shea for the max. They signed Chet for the max. And then today we just got news that they signed Jalen Williams for the max. So that's 3 max players. It's not sustainable. So we'll see what's in their pipeline to see how they can fill out the rest of the rosters. Not next year, but the following years. Dallas, obviously, with Cooper Flag, it's going to be interesting to see, with all the lights coming down there, we'll see if he can be that man. I think everybody expects him to be a really versatile player, both offensively and defensively. And we'll get into Cooper Flag later. But the other team I want to look into, Brooklyn Nets. Everybody know what they did during the draft. They held on to all their first round picks. They made selections there, and they're bringing all of them to Vegas. So how are they going to integrate playing time? How are they going to integrate playing styles? Are they all going to play together? So I'm be interested to see if all 5 first round picks for Brooklyn plays in Vegas.
Right. Excellent point. And kind of like that, the Wizards have 7 first-round picks from 2024 and 2025 combined. So that's another one to look out for. It's just, that's why we watch Summer League, I guess, for me at least, just kind of seeing all the young talent, how it's evolved, and how our first looks, even though it's not always, of course, like we put so much pressure on these guys when it's really like Wemby didn't have a stellar outing. He ran into Britney Spears that one time, and we saw what happened. But it's just like there's a lot going into it. It's like these guys are young and they're in Vegas for the first time. But at the same time, you get to see those little like crumbs of the first things they're going to be.
Oh yeah, one of the cool things about this week is like the NBA social media accounts and the NBA Summer League social media accounts. They post highlights of, past stars like LeBron back in '04 or Tatum or like guys like Paul George who was killing Summer League right off the bat. So it's really cool to see these stars or these players that nobody knew heading into Summer League and then just like exploding, right? Dame Lillard, right? He was basically a no-namer and then exploded in summer league and became like, I don't know, a top 5 pick in fantasy, right? That year as a rookie. So like, it's really cool to see because people do blossom. And I don't know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what to expect in this Cooper Flag, Bronny James, Dalton Connect matchup.
Oh yeah, let's go. I mean, that's the marquee event at 8 p.m. tonight, and typically the league reserves the best time slot of the first day for the number 1 and number 2 picks from last month's draft. But of course, they switched it up this year to give us Cooper Flag and the Mavs versus Bronny James and the Lakers. I know you'll have your eye on Cooper Flag and our first look at the main event with the Mavs. I want to ask you first: is the main event corny, or do you like that in Dallas?
I don't think it's cheesy at all. I think
Okay.
I think it fits his bill. And I mentioned this earlier, the fact that the team that they're playing is the Lakers, it's going to be a very, very heavy pro Lakers crowd there. And it's going to be really exciting. I think it's a great first game for Cooper Flag to play in.
Do you like that game for Bronny? Like, do you think he could thrive off the crowd?
Yeah, so the way I read this game, not only from a analytics standpoint, but from a betting perspective, the Lakers have actually been in summer league for a week now. They've been playing in the California Summer League. I think they played 3 games, and Bronny and Dalton and the rest of those boys played for the majority of those games. So I think they have a distinct advantage over Dallas tonight. I need to go back to past summer leagues to see like what the correlation is there. But I would imagine that's a huge edge, right? For the summer league roster to be already game ready and game tested, whereas Dallas, they've been in Vegas for the last couple of days, but they've only run through practices and walkthroughs. They haven't done a game yet. So for that reason, I actually do like the Lakers tonight to cover. They're one of those teams where I'm not going to bet pre-flop. I'm going to wait at halftime. But Cooper Flag, I'm super excited to watch him play. Obviously, being a Dallas fan, heartbroken when Luka was traded, but Cooper Flag jumping in, I'm most excited about not only like his offensive game and his dunks and his threes and the way he can pass the ball, but I want to see the shutdown defender. Like I want to see the Kawhi Leonard comparisons, right? Because he's 6'9", he's versatile, he's tall, athletic. So I want to see his defensive versatility tonight. I want to see that first and foremost, because I think the offense, Sarah, would just take care of itself because he is, so gifted athletically. He is big. And I think that his focus and motor is just going to be able to give him points. Like you don't have to run plays for this guy. I think he's just going to score for you and grab offensive rebounds for you. But I want to see him be like that primary defender. That's what I'm mostly excited about.
Right. And summer league can be a good time for that, like someone acclimating into NBA style defense, team style defense, where it's like the offense will come. And as much as these games do like matter for pride, matter for X, Y, and Z, it is an exhibition, and it is, nobody wants to risk getting hurt. So you might not see huge risky moves or things like that, but you might see an extra emphasis on defense, right?
Yeah, I think that's why you mentioned in the notes we had before the show, like I think you like the under, right, Sarah? So I think that's a really
Yeah.
smart look because honestly, I can almost say you could blindly bet every under tonight and you're going to be profitable just because it's day one of summer league. There's a clear distinction between teams who have played the last week or so versus teams that haven't played. And then for those who don't know, these are 10-minute quarters. So it's much harder to score, right? Because the offenses are not going to be as crisp and clean. There's basically unlimited fouls. I think each player gets 10 fouls before they're fouled out. So like there's just so many things that are pro defense in this setting, if you will, that usually during the NBA season, it's more pro offense.
100%. All right, we talked a little bit about the odds and like the bets that we're eyeing, but I will give it officially. I'll tell everybody the Bet Rivers odds at the time being. The Lakers are the favorites at minus 177. The spread is set at 4.5, and the points line is 176.5. So can we maybe officially lock some things in that we're eyeing? Like, what do you think the value is here? I know we're talking unders, we're talking a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah. I would say I do like the Lakers here, but I'm gonna wait at halftime. I'm
Okay.
hoping it's like a tied game or something, and then Lakers will probably be like -2.5, -3
Okay.
at halftime if they're tied. So I'm looking for that. I do really like your under look as well. It's not an official play right now. It's a lean, but it might be official, before game time. But I expect a lot of turnovers. This is the first time we've seen this iteration of the Dallas team play together in a game setting. So turnovers, sloppiness, missed shots, things like that. So I think under is a really smart look, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm going with the under here. There might be a little jitters, there might be a little bit jet lag, what have you. And there is like the need to mesh together as a new team. And just kind of the one thing you can control in many situations is your defense. And you look at this Mavs team that's kind of structured around defense. So you can control what you can control as a young player trying to kind of as the games get on, people might get more comfortable with kind of showing off with league officials and with the teams that they're under. So you'll see maybe more overs later as we delve into summer league. But right now, I'm definitely going to take the under tonight.
I like it.
I mean, we'll do what we can and we'll come back accordingly. But do you want to take a look at the rest of the night slate? Because we've also got Cavs versus Pacers at 5, Thunder versus Nets at 5:30, Magic versus Kings at 7:30, Nuggets versus Bucks at 9:30, and Spurs versus Sixers at 10. Have you had a moment to check out the odds on Bet Rivers? What's catching your eye tonight?
Yeah, Sarah. So I mentioned, identifying some games that I'm probably going to fire at halftime. It doesn't mean I will. It just means if I get a better number than I would have gotten pre-flop. So definitely T-Wolves and Lakers are the two teams we mentioned, but I'm also looking at the Pacers and the Kings. The Kings are actually really big. Their roster is like, there's like a few 7-footers there, which is I think it's gonna cause issues for some teams, right? So they'll control the defensive glass. They'll be able to block shots and protect the rim. So I do kind of like the Kings tonight, and then the Pacers. Again, this is more of like kind of like a franchise system play, right? We saw how Indiana had an amazing postseason run, but I think their style of play is going to be taught from, Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA all the way down to Summer League and G League. And I think they're going to have basically this organized chaos type of offense, and it's going to be really hard for teams to defend, especially teams that, half the rosters never having even played with each other. So I'm looking at Indiana again. If I get a better number at halftime right now, Indiana's -2.5.
Mhm.
If it's tied at halftime and they're only like -1 or -1.5, that's probably a play for me there. But those are the 4 teams I'm looking at. Just to review: T-Wolves, Pacers, Kings, and Lakers.
Cool. I'm going in on the T-Wolves with you, and I will also take the under when it comes to the 8 p.m. marquee game. I'm personally just looking forward to watching the 10 p.m. game with the Spurs and the Sixers. I mean, there's so much young talent going on there, and that I'll stay up late for that. I'll have an extra coffee, but I think that's the one I'm just going to like sit back and observe and be like, let's see what young NBA talent all around we're working with here.
Yeah, I would say, 2 pieces of advice. At the end of the day, ultimately, this is still summer league, so it's going to be
Mhm.
hard to really, really project and handicap all of this stuff without data, without games played, things like that. So, downsize your unit size. If it's usually,
Okay.
$100 hypothetically for a unit, maybe just put half a unit or a quarter of a unit in for these spots. Again, Sarah mentioned it. It's 11 days. There's going to be a lot of games. It's rapid fire, so you're going to get a lot of action. You don't need to bet more than you should. And then the second thing is definitely monitor and keep a lookout on the rosters, right? See who's
Mhm.
active and who's inactive. So Twitter is a great platform, or X is a great platform for that, just to see who's actually playing and who's active for that night.
It varies so much, and there is some unpredictability, and the odds makers do love like the predictable team. So it's kind of confusing when it gets to a situation with so many variables. So I really like the idea of kind of having fun with it, and that means generally reducing your units for sure. So let's shift to some futures market talk as we wrap up Summer League talk. Look, Summer League has seen 9 different champions since 2013. It's usually entertaining ball, but not exactly like a star-studded indicative of future success to win the championship here. As we look at the odds here in the futures market, would you touch any of it at all, or do you typically leave this alone?
I personally would not touch it, but I'll say this: like Utah Jazz 6-1 is not a good look, and here's my explanation for it. So obviously they're tested. They just played in the Utah Summer League. They're a deep team. There's like 3 or 4 NBA caliber players already on this team, from Sensabaugh, Filikowski. Obviously, we know about Ace Bailey, Cody Williams. Like this team is loaded, but for them to play the Utah Summer League tournament and then play the same guys at in the Vegas Summer League tournament doesn't feel productive to me, right? It's not the intention of what Summer League is for. It's about giving minutes and opportunities to players that are not going to make the team or potentially not make the team, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if those guys I just mentioned, Sensabaugh, Williams, Bailey, Collier, Filipowski, like they may play in the first or 2 games and they may play early in the games, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if they sat out for the rest of the tournament. And we've seen that every single year, basically for the past 10 years, where like Josh Hart would play game 1 of 2018, and everybody already knew he's a starter for the Lakers team, so they ended up just benching him for the rest of the series, or rest of the tournament. So I would say Utah is not a great bet, just for that reason, because you're not going to know about who's actually going to be playing the remainder of Summer League. But I would say if you want to throw some money in some of these futures, I would start at the long shots, just because they're long shots in Summer League doesn't mean they're truly long shots, because no one truly really understands or knows who's going to actually be playing. So like, let's say if you do Celtics at 45-1 and the Warriors at 33-1, and they actually start playing, right, and they win the first or two games, their odds get a lot shorter. Then you can kind of focus on another team or two and get those long odds. And then before you know it, you're cheering for like 8 teams at like 40-1. So you're going to be up no matter what. Like that's how I would play it personally.
You know what? You just encapsulated exactly why I love Summer League, because I get to kind of have whimsy and just do that. Like I take it so seriously the rest, and I do have fun. It's sports, right? We're all having fun, and we're kind of, you want to put yourself in a position where you're kind of making these sensible bets and you're succeeding, right? But when you kind of lower your bankroll and take a little more risk in a low stakes situation like this, it can be really fun to set out to do that, right? It's not like you're wagering like what you usually do on it. So you really can take these risks, and you can kind of, this is how I learn some new names sometimes and who's coming into the league, just kind of like watching all these games and kind of putting an extra, like I care a little bit more when I have $5 on a random winner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's the perfect way to say it. And half of the players that are going to be playing in Vegas are not going to be making the team, right? They might be in G League next year, they might be in Europe or Asia next year, but that doesn't mean they won't be back eventually, right? So that's another thing, especially if you love basketball, is you might be following player XYZ that didn't make the big league team, but joins the NBA or comes back to the NBA in 2 years, and you're like, oh yeah, I followed this player in Summer League, two summers ago, and these are his strengths and these are things he worked on. So for a basketball junkie like me, I love Summer League, and the ability just to go there and see so many different teams and players at once is the reason why I went every single year, except this year.
Right. I always love having like an emotional support G Leaguer, which is like somebody that I don't anticipate coming in next year and making this huge impact. But you get to say, oh, I watched this guy in Summer League. I know ball, and I know kind of specific things about him. That's always nice.
I love it.
All right. We will shift to the WNBA in a second, but guys, be sure to check out Betting Weekly Game Bet Match with Nigel and Sean Calvert, released this morning. previewing Friday's men's semifinal matches at Wimbledon. It's all coming to a head tomorrow. So definitely get on top of that and watch that episode before tomorrow morning. Now we're shifting to WNBA as things are heating up on and off the court just before our All-Star break. Angel Reese gracing the cover of 2K this year. I know there's a debate, as there always is, about should it have been Clark, and it comes down to, oh, who's the better player? People are mad. There's this whole discourse around it. I want to say first, I always end up feeling a little bad for Angel Reese. It's not her fault. She was picked for something like this, right? And why wouldn't she be able to enjoy it without there being some kind of, I think she's okay with playing the villain, as she says, but I don't know, man. Sometimes she didn't choose to be in that position. And I mean, I would love to see her just kind of enjoy this. She launched a new shoe too, and it looks sick. So I will be in the market of buying that shoe. I know nobody thinks Reese is genuinely better than Clark, but I think she's a great personality. I was wondering your thoughts on this.
I think this was a genius marketing tactic by the league, right? I think the fact that we're talking about it on a betting show and people are talking about it, across the country on their shows is the reason why they chose Angel Reese. And I don't say that belittling her. Like, I don't say that because they're using her as this thing for conversation, but she's a great player. I think she just went, 6 straight games, averaging 15 and 15. Like, her production level, her motor, she has a lot of me bounds. She did copyright that and stuff like that, but she's a great player and she's going to be a face of this league along with Caitlin Clark for many years to come. And the fact that she's on this year's cover is great, not only for her, for the league, her shoe that you mentioned with Reebok. I thought it was a great marketing thing. It's genius and it's getting people to talk about it. And, I think the fact that I think Doug mentioned this on a show a couple of days ago, it's like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is kind of like the Bird Magic moment in the NBA that we had in 1979. A lot of people don't know this, but in the 70s, the NBA finals were on like tape delay. Like, it wasn't even live sports, right? It wasn't a league that people followed. But when Bird and Magic came in 79, 80, propelled the league obviously to greater heights than Jordan in the 90s. And I think we're going through those seminal moments here with the WNBA. We've seen valuations of these teams 10x in the last few years. We're seeing crazy TV contracts, new CBA deal that's being bargained and negotiated. So, for all the pros that Caitlin Clark has brought into the league, and she's done so much, Angel Reese has also done a lot for the league, and I do want to give her flowers as well.
100%. There's room for everybody, and I'm sure Caitlin Clark will grace the cover of 2K eventually. And I understand the debate, but I agree with you, Albert, completely that I think it's a great marketing ploy by the league, and it got people talking. And now, exactly like you said, we are talking about it now on a betting show, and I'll continue to talk about it. And I root for both of them. And guess what, people? That's allowed.
Yes, it is allowed. It's okay to like both players, guys. You don't have to hate, just like LeBron and Jordan. Just because you're a LeBron fan doesn't mean you hate Jordan. You can appreciate both players. You can appreciate both teams. And so I like that message. I like where we're going with this show right now, Sarah.
Yeah, me too, Albert. Hats off to the league for that one. So tonight's slate in the WNBA, we got Aces versus Mystics at 7 p.m. Wilson's status is questionable after leaving the game Tuesday with an injury to her right wrist. She shared on social media that she got an MRI, but she seemed pretty chill about it. That's not like an official, she's fine, but she participated in Thursday's pregame shoot-around. Apparently, Becky Hammond wasn't feeling well, so we didn't get an update from her on Wilson's status. But are you looking at the BetRivers odds on that? We got, what do we have here? We have
Mystics -4 right now.
Okay.
Which means according to bookmakers, Asia Wilson is worth 9 points, which is insane, right? If you think about it, because I think this opened up as Vegas -5. And so the fact that it's moved 9 points is interesting for me, but I'm going to say this about the Las Vegas Aces. I don't believe in them tonight against the Mystics. I think the Mystics are a feisty team and they're playing at home, and they're going to have not only the crowd behind them, but youth and athleticism behind them, youth and quickness. So I don't like the aces for this team, and I also don't like the aces for the rest of the year. Sarah, I'm sorry to say this to Aces fan, but they have a ton of talent. They have all the big names. Obviously, Asia Wilson, fully deserving of all the accolades she has. But if she's not going to play, if this wrist injury is serious, and she had just gotten back from another injury prior to that, I think it was her back. Like if these injuries are going to nag for the rest of this year, I think, and I'm going out on a limb here, I think Aces 7-1 to miss the playoffs has some legs. I really do.
I like that. I think they're hurting without Plum, curiously, because I know is she overrated? That's a big conversation here in the WNBA. I think she might be overrated and they're still missing her. I also think they need more of a like a lob situation. I think sometimes the way they try to play, it's so centered around Wilson because why wouldn't it be? But she's kind of, I am starting to feel bad for her. I hope that she not finds a way out. That's a little dramatic after all the success she's had with this team, but I hope she gets to have a better structure around her. And like you bring up the Mystics too, they've always been a team of late that has had a lot of good pieces that have been either injured and couldn't figure it out or just like didn't gel together for whatever reason, but they're kind of starting to. And it's exciting to see from their end. But the drop off with the Aces, I mean, every year they kind of have a drop off and seem to get it together, but it just feels different this year. So I like that the play long term that you had.
Yeah, it does feel different. And Becky Hammon, who I really like as a coach, right? She
Mhm.
has a ton of pedigree, not only in the WNBA, but she has a ton of respect in the NBA as well. Like she's a great coach and a great teacher of the game. But sometimes coaches just run out their time, right? Whether it's, players not paying attention and listening or going full in with what she's saying anymore. But it doesn't seem like she has a full grasp of this year's iteration of the Aces. Not saying she's a bad coach and not saying she doesn't have control. It just feels like this year's version of the Aces is not really, listening to her. And the other thing is, outside of Asia Wilson, who's amazing, they just don't have, and this is why I like the Mystics tonight, is they don't have speed, quickness, athleticism, things that you want in a basketball team, right? The WNBA is getting a lot better. People are getting a lot more skilled, and that includes more athletic players coming in being more skilled. And I think we're seeing that with the Aces. It's two teams, right? New York Liberty, who has a ton of, talent and names as well, but these two teams are on the older side. They're on the slower side. They can definitely execute in the half court, but where they're really struggling is, fast transition, not only on defense, but offense. And I think that's where they're struggling. And I think the Aces, they're not going to get any younger. They're not going to get any more athletic, right? So that's why I think, we saw a graphic on the board with Aces under wins, a little juice right now. I think that's a good look as well. Under 24 and a half wins. They're under 500 at 9-10. Do we all expect them to go and win 60, 67, 70% of the rest of their games to hit this over? I certainly don't.
That's an excellent example of good value to kind of like you're seeing a market and you're seeing exactly where, all right, at this moment in time, this is where the odds are at. Like get in on this one soon. I think I am with you the more I watch them play because usually there is a drop off in their season, but I do think this is kind of the end of the road for this iteration of the Aces. And like you said, there are more teams coming in the league, and that means there's more scrutiny when it comes to coaching. And Hammond's obviously a legend, and people love playing for her for good reasons. She wins, but you're starting to see kind of more new names come in the coaching carousel. And you even see a team like the Valkyries come in, and they have been having an excellent first season. And you look at that's going to keep happening. Like you just have to strategize a little bit better in these kind of old head teams that have had such great consistency and success. It's like a little more parity is entering the chat.
I love how you mentioned the old heads because this is what we saw in the NBA in the 2000s. We saw all these coaches who were, head coaches for like 20, 30, 40 years, setting records in terms of like total wins and stuff. But we've seen them retire or get fired. And now we see this new influx of analytics, these teams that are focused on 3-pointers. And I think the fact that it's become more of a math game in the NBA, we're seeing that also in the WNBA. Teams like Minnesota is shooting a lot of threes, right? So I think the league continues to grow and evolve. And even though we're expanding to several teams in the next few years, I still think like the talent will keep the quality high, in my opinion.
100%. And there's a bunch of players out there that are free agents that have been like WNBA level if there were more teams. So it's something to really get excited about. And I kind of like, as it's getting more popularity, that there are a few teams. It's like people that are newcomers can get familiar with the league before it expands, but it's coming and it's going to be huge. And it's as the expansion comes, I'm hearing rumors of Boston getting a team, and I know the mayor's getting in on kind of like bringing the team here. The Connecticut Sun maybe relocating, and of course, I am all for that. I saw the Sun play at TD Garden to a sold-out crowd, and that was such a fun experience. So I really hope they come to Boston.
And Boston loves their basketball, right?
do,
They
yes.
have one of the most passionate fan bases
Yeah.
with the Celtics, and so they're going to do the same with their WNBA team. I could definitely see that happening. I mean, Miami's, going to be in the conversation, Nashville, Boston, maybe another Canadian team, but I'm just excited to see the sport grow and succeed.
100%. All right, Albert, I wanted to end this episode with kind of recapping your best bets. So anything you want to say right now, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's a little disappointing, but I have no official play as of now, 2:30 Central Time. But I did select 4 teams in Summer League tonight: Lakers, Minnesota, Kings, and Pacers. So take a look at those lines, and if you find them at a shorter line at halftime, those are the 4 teams that I would fire. So hopefully, it'll be a good night for me in terms of the NBA Summer League. No real play in the WNBA. I definitely lean the Mystics there. I don't think the Aces are a great team with Asia Wilson, and now without her, if she's not playing, it seems like the line is telling us she's not playing tonight. There's no way I can back the Aces.
Yeah, if she's not playing, I think I'm going under. I've had some success recently with the WNBA unders, so
Nice.
gotta kind of ride that hot hand, I guess. But you know what? It's not disappointing that you don't have official plays. I feel like you're keeping us honest.
Sometimes the best bet is no bet, right?
Yes.
That's something that's a lesson that we all have to learn and kind of remind ourselves.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this first night of Summer League, and obviously we'll catch up soon and go over what has happened, and maybe we'll be able to suss out some trends there and have some official bets. But for now, I like no bet is the best bet. But that being said, I might do something wild with a low bankroll.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel to keep Betting Weekly Studios growing so we can keep collecting dubs together. That's all we have for today. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. Again, I'm going to say it twice so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break, and enjoy the first days of Summer League. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, Albert.
See ya. Thank you, guys.